James 1, 5 through 8. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting. For the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. First, notice that James is using the idea of lack from verse 4 to connect these passages together. He says if we lack wisdom, if we haven't fully matured, then we should ask for it. James assures us that God is generous and uncritical, and we should feel free to ask for what we lack. This is, of course, a vital principle by itself, to ask God for what we need, knowing that He is generous and gives even to the evil person. But James says specifically to ask for wisdom, which is a central theme of his book, relating to perfection and completeness. James is drawing from the Old Testament with this word, referencing the extensive wisdom literature of Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, etc., where wisdom is praised as the highest virtue attainable. Basically, in James' view, wisdom is perfection and completeness, or wisdom is maturity. He will develop it further, but just understand that this is what we should be viewing as the goal, to be wise. And then he goes on to say, but let him ask in faith. James moves to a warning about how we must ask, namely in faith. Here we must spend a bit of time talking about what faith means. In English, when someone betrays a friend, we might say that they have broken faith. The phrase is a bit dated, but this idea of faith as a bond of trust is helpful to understand James' full meaning here. I believe James is using this word to refer to both our trust in God and His trust in us. So he is not only talking about how we must trust God in order to receive from Him, but he's also saying that our relationship with God must be healthy. With no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. Doubt, then, is the opposite of that. Doubt is literally something like wavering or going back and forth. We could relate it to instability. James' own definition uses a wave of the sea thrown around by the wind as the illustration. So first, we must not be inconsistent or unreliable in God's view. These, we will learn, are symptoms of a deeper issue. James goes on to give a strong warning to such people. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. For reasons that will be made clear later, James first wants us to know that doubt is a disqualifying trait in relationship with God. Doubt blocks our ability to receive anything from God. Notice, though, that James doesn't say it blocks God's giving. It makes good sense to think that while God is kind and generous, giving without reproach, that doesn't necessarily mean that we are able to receive what He gives when we have doubts about Him. James continues to work towards clarifying by giving us some more clues about the condition of a doubting person. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Double-minded is the term that James chooses to further describe a doubter. The picture is clear at this point. A person who doubts or wavers in their relationship with God is a person who is really switching back and forth between two ways of thinking, or two inner natures. We know the idea of someone being two-faced, meaning they act one way with us and another way behind our back. And I think that would be another way to say this. The doubter is two-faced with God, unreliable and apparently untrusting. Doubt cannot affect only one area of life, though, because it is a symptom of a deeper problem. Doubt actually creates instability in all of our ways, as James says, or in every area of life. When doubt is present in one area, we must assume that there is a problem deeper down, not just with one thing. However, James will address that issue later. For now, he moves to speaking about how wealth relates to the Christian life.